I'm Liston, and I work on Gnosis. Gnosis is a decentralized prediction market platform built in Ethereum. Prediction markets allow you to buy and sell shares in the outcome of any event. So, an example is the presidential election. There's an event token for Hillary Clinton wins and an event token for Donald Trump wins. And the current price is, maybe 80 cents for Hillary and 20 cents for Trump. And you think Hillary has a greater than 80% chance of winning, so then it becomes rational for you to buy a token in the Hillary's going to win position. And then, if Hillary actually wins, then you have essentially a 20 cent gain because it was 80 cents and 20 cents and it sums to 1. And when you buy the 80 cent token, the 80 cent Hillary token, the probability and essentially also the cost for the next purchaser may go up. So you've bought Hillary token, which means that you think the probability should be higher, and you're putting more, capital on that side, and the market adjusts the probability, which is also the price. It's better than polling because polling is essentially saying what you want to happen, not what you expect to happen, and there's also no financial. It's massive. I mean, look at what's currently happening in democracy. We've got a system that, maybe works pretty well, but it doesn't work when there's just false information flying around and no one can understand that there's actually a quantifiable common truth. So now we can aggregate all the knowledge into one number that essentially has financial backing. That people are saying this is the number and we're going to lose money. We have a stake in this if we're wrong. Now you can have a common truth that can inform everything. I mean, it can inform political systems, it can inform business systems, everything can operate more efficiently, and just be better informed. So prediction markets are about information. Betting is a side product. Yeah, so step one is we're launching a beta test with play money tokens. It's called Olympia. So, join the Gnosis Slack or follow the Gnosis Twitter and sign up for Olympia. And basically you get an allocation of play money tokens, which you can then participate in prediction markets, and top scorers are going to get some Gnosis tokens back. So it's an easy way where you don't even need to buy Ether, and you can just start participating in Gnosis prediction markets. First of all, I'm extremely excited about decentralized platforms and protocols, and I'm extremely excited about what tokens can do to help form those economies. What I'm more dismayed about is the funding environment. So you might have noticed there's a ton of hype in this space right now, and we have more and more money flowing in, and it needs places to go. And what's happening is the money is going to these pre-sales, and the pre-sales are getting larger and larger and larger, basically outsized from what they actually need. And the funders are also pushing the projects to launch their tokens maybe earlier than they should. And they're also, forcing them to lock into token designs that maybe are not necessary or are not best for the business long term. So this is really unhealthy. And then, eventually what it goes to is this token launch where the projects are, they're raising, more and more money. And what this is doing is allowing the early participants to speculate on these things pre-product. And, okay, that's their prerogative. But it's essentially destroying projects. Because now these things are rushed, and there's heavy speculation very, very early on into the projects, which hurts the development, and maybe their business is crippled because they have tokens they don't need. And as someone who's very passionate about the space and been in it for a long time as a founder, I don't want to see that creativity essentially suck dry from these early token sale participants looking for speculative tokens. In the super early stages, the biggest thing is don't say, I want to do a token launch, how do I design a product for that? Say, the Ethereum space or the crypto space in general is really cool. I like the idea of decentralization and designing these new economies. Let me design a product and then be absolutely sure that I need a token. That's absolutely the first step. The second step is one, be wary of these, participants coming into the space and throwing lots of money at these things, and try to retain your independence and don't let yourself be guided by that, because their interests are not necessarily your interests. The other thing I would say is that when you do your sale, do things like raise less money, keep more of your tokens, so that essentially you can capitalize as your project is successful and as you release more and more products, rather than just having a bunch of money early on and maybe not knowing what to do with it. Futarchy is a subset of something called decision markets. Decision markets are prediction markets which are used to guide real-world events. So essentially you create a two-part market. And the market says, if we do this, or this, what is the outcome on some other metric? So in the Futarchy case, it's maybe for corporate governance. A typical example is, if we fire the CEO, what will our share price be in a year? So now you're using market information discovery to guide real-world decisions. You have this market, and there's people buying and selling shares in the market, which essentially is selling information in the market. They now have a large financial stake saying that, you know what, if you fire the CEO, your share price is going to be higher. They're going to lose money if they're wrong, they're going to make money if they're right. And then the company essentially follows the decision that the prediction market says is going to be best. Blockchain is a shared record of events, and it's a consensus and incentive mechanism for a group of parties maybe that don't know each other, that are competing, that don't have shared interests, to come to a common truth. Bitcoin is the grandfather of this, incredibly innovative. But Bitcoin is sort of like the 0.1. And also there's different use cases, right? So Bitcoin is, it's incredibly secure, but what it allows you to do is transfer some Bitcoin from me to you, and slightly more complicated things like multi-signature transactions. Ethereum uses similar technology, but allows you to essentially run any arbitrary computer program on this shared ledger. So it all has the same memory, and this is, it's sort of like saying, Bitcoin, I'm stealing this from Vitalik, but sort of like saying Bitcoin is a 1980s pocket calculator and Ethereum is an iPhone 10. So, with a decentralized prediction market, you can provide a shared market infrastructure and liquidity pool for competing applications that want to provide, market type products. It also allows for greater access and greater flexibility in the types of markets that you can create. And you couldn't do this on, say, a centralized server where you have silos around, who can use it and what sort of data can be shared. It's a little difficult to say, but I want the world to know that this started as a protest movement, but it's not a protest movement anymore. And technology is accelerative, but it's not necessarily good or bad. It's how it's used. And there's a real possibility that this is used for both bad and good things. And a couple things I'm really wary about. One is that the technology is essentially being hijacked by corporate interests to allow for efficiency gains. And that also, the technology, decentralization is great, but this could also be used for scary ends, like authoritarian ends. So I just want people to be aware that this is not necessarily universally good, and we need to be careful about what we're doing, and we need to think about this we need more inclusion in the space so that we have a more diverse set of thinkers that aren't just, necessarily engineers who are thinking about these problems.